You just have to improvise.
I got
All
you.
right, you're on the air.
All right.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'd like to introduce my guest host, Mark. And we have so much to talk about. We're going to try to squeeze as much information as we can, and that's why we're skipping the theme song. So let's go right into the show, okay? A couple quick announcements. Not one, not two, but 3 shows on Block Talk Radio. We did a couple shows back to back. We did a special edition talking about the Emmys. I had a special guest with me on that show, David Skornick, and he was he was a New Yorker, moved to Ohio, and he's a movie editor, a journalist, and he writes articles for a magazine from Ohio. Okay, so he was my guest, and it really went very, very well. We just had that communicating thing going on, you could say, and he came back for 2 more shows, and we did a Howard show. Talking about Friday the 13th and a bunch of stuff like that. And that's the best and worst of 2013. That's part 1. And in part 2, we covered a lot about the Macho Movies, how a lot of movies are going VOD. James Franco came out with a movie by William Faulkner, the author, and they decided to just skip it and send it back down to VOD. They didn't make it to the movie theaters. And that's happening a lot. We discussed that in that show. And then we're going to have the best and worst part 3 next week, where we're going to be talking about comedies, animation. Okay, and then we're gonna have a final review of Clouded with a Chance of Meatballs. One of my favorite movies was Despicable Me. We're gonna have The Croods. We're gonna be talking about comedy like We Are the Millers, which is still in the top 10 box office, believe it or not. And of course, for you Potterheads out there, This Is the End with Seth Rogen and James Franco and a bunch of guys. The End of the World movie, which is really funny. That's coming out on Blu-ray. We're gonna be talking about that, and nobody even realized that Cheech and Chong came out with a animated movie this past year. So we're going to be talking about that next Wednesday. Okay, we're back on track, Black Talk Radio on Wednesdays. I did mention we're going to have, because I did 3 shows, I couldn't do anything for SoundCloud. SoundCloud would have 3 shows next week, okay? And then also Twitter. You can send me little tweets and questions or any things you want to talk about on the show over here. The show's every 2 weeks. And let's open up the show with the top 10. But I have to say congratulations to Pacific Rim. It was posted I put on my blog page. The Blogspot page is my daily blog. And I put that up. And Pacific Rim is known as the most original live-action highest grossing film of the year. So the total has Final Laugh. It has grossed over $400 million, thanks to China. That really helped a lot. And now they're just waiting for the Blu-ray sales to see how that works out when it comes out in the middle of October. In October, this show on M&N, we're going to have Creature Features. Yes, in honor of Pacific Rim, the big guy who started it all, Godzilla. We're going to also pay tribute to Ray Harryhausen. Okay, and we're going to talk about the best stuff, worst stuff of Howard films of all time. So that's what's coming down the pike. And of course, the one that came out, Werewolf Z, people thought that's going to be the biggest bomb. And I definitely recommend this because this has 7 minutes of footage that was not on, it's on the DVD. Actually, it's not on Blu-ray. The DVD is just the original version that came out in the theaters. And that 7 minutes was not in the theaters. And it makes a big difference. Even me as an editor for so many years, and so is Mark, we were both surprised how they took those 7 minutes, stuck them in there, and it made the picture unrated, director's cut. Blood and guts all over the place. The studio made him cut it down, and everybody said, "Oh, no zombies, no blood, no guts." They're in there, folks. Okay, there's a scene where a young soldier gets his hand cut off, in the theater version, you see Brad Pitt, boom. Oh, excuse me. Let me do it this way. Off screen. See my arm? That was the PG-13 version. And the NC-17, you see it right there. Yak! So I definitely recommend. So you zombie fans who hated this, you did not see the unrated version, 7 minutes that got included in there. This is the way to see it, the Blu-ray edition. Okay. Before I forgot to mention this last time. Because we started talking about Macho Movies, we're going to continue that when Fast and the Furious comes out on Blu-ray in, I believe in November. But, they can talk about the Ensemble cast. We're going to talk about that in a second. But, Expendables 3. It's got a whole full ensemble, and so does Fast and Furious. Already they made the announcement of 7, 8, and 9. James Wan, who did the Insidious movies. Thank God he left that because the last one sucked. Well, I know another topic I mentioned in a second, but Patrick Hughes, who he is the Spanish edition of like Robert Rodriguez, written, produced, directed, and edited by Patrick Hughes, because of this picture called Red Hill, okay, starring the guy who plays Sookie's brother on True Blood. I would highly recommend this picture. A badass killer who got released from jail, and he goes on a hunting vengeance body count and killing everybody. And the young sheriff is like, something's up. He's killing certain people, but not other people. I'm a sheriff. He didn't kill me, but he's going after you, sheriffs. And there's a huge twist. I give this a 4 out of 5. Great body count. Really tense. A lot of action. 4 out of 5. It's not getting a 5 only because there's a very sad scene at the end spoken by the killer himself. Yeah. There's a lot of heart and soul here. It's just not one badass killer killing people. There is a reason, and there's a huge twist to the film. I was very surprised, and it's really emotional at the very end. What a tagline. I was really surprised. I was expecting more of a more kick-ass ending, but that's just me. A little bit sad, but I think Stallone picked a great director to direct Expendables 3. First time director doing this, doing the Robert Rodriguez, doing practically everything. Highly recommended, 4 out of 5. Hopefully it is on Netflix. Okay, so again, Expendables 3 and Fast and Furious, they're getting this huge ensemble cast together. I guess that's where all the actors are going. If they're not going there, they're going straight to cable. And the reason for that is, I'll mention real quick, The Family came out last week at number 1, and it went down to number 7. It's not even going to clear 50 million. You saw The Family.
Yes, I did. Basically, if you see the trailer or what they call it on the commercial, you pretty much seen the whole movie. It's sad to say that it's another dismal film in what is the end of the summer towards the fall season. We're not really seeing anything new in any of these movies. I mean, if anything, it's sort of like a rehash of maybe a Simpsons episode, or of anything else we would see. Good wise guys, and what would happen to a wise guy if they put him in suburbia. This seems like an old shtick, and there's really nothing new there, and I wasn't surprised.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, it has to do with the whole witness protection plan, and it wasn't as funny as you think it was. Only at the very end, they're protecting him because they know the mob is looking out for him, and they're looking for him, should I say. And Robert De Niro, he's writing a book, and he says, well, I'm worth 20 million. My head is worth 20 million, and that's why the mafia is looking for me. And there's a big shootout at the end. Big reveal, big spoiler, who cares? There's a big shootout. The family gets away, and at the end it said, now I got to write my damn book all over again thanks to these guys, and now I'm worth 40 million. And that's how the movie ends. I mean, if you saw the trailer, the funny bits in there, that's it. Okay, there's no more funny bits in the movie. It's pretty much straight, and Tommy Lee Jones is just completely wasted. He's the one in charge of protecting the family. You didn't miss anything, trust me. I can't even recommend it. Maybe Two for Tuesday. If you like De Niro doing his shtick, okay, go see Casino, and what's the big one?
Goodfellas.
Thank you. Now you know why I have a partner.
Once in a while, it comes in handy.
Yeah, it comes in handy big time. But anyway, just see those old films again. Okay, I really can recommend it. And it was directed and co-written by Luc Besson and produced by Martin Scorsese. They must have phoned this in. I don't know what happened. Yeah.
That's terrible.
Really. And we're going to go down a list of movies coming up. But let's mention something about Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, it seems like a great movie. I seem very interested in seeing this. They keep hyping it every so often. This was written by, this has a cast of, what do you call it?
But yeah, Leonardo, of course.
Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio. You have a great book. You have a great director, too. And then, but what's going on with it?
Well, believe it or not, the studio says 3 hours. Where you think of making another Godfather, and now they're going to postpone it. That's going to be like one of the films for the Oscars. They say, it's going to win all these multiple awards. The studio stepped in and said, you cut this film. We're not going to release it as 3 hours. You make it less than 2.5 hours. So that's a big sign right there that something's wrong with the movie. And so, but then again, look at World War Z. They refilmed the whole last half hour and turned out to be a great ending. A good third act, as you could say. But Wall Street, we're not going to see it in November. So they're going to push it back, and maybe it will probably be in springtime. And so unfortunately, the Scorsese is right now editing the film, trying to get to the deadline. I think like in the middle of December is the deadline for films to be nominated for Oscar. If I miss that deadline, then I get shoved to the next year. But right now, he's got a kind of competition. I mean, right now, what's the film? You got The Butler, 12 Years a Slave. That's getting huge
Acclaim?
Acclaim, yes, thank you. And that's produced by Brad Pitt, who's also in the picture. Okay, so there's some films going to be really tight and stuff like that. Okay, real quick, on the box office, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs only opened to 30 million. That should have cleared 50 million. Despicable Me cleared 70 million. So I think people are getting tired of animation movies, especially after the Turbo, the Snail, Planes. Even though Planes kind of hanged in the top 10 for a lot of weeks. Well, go figure. But let's go to the second picture. Rush, about the race car drivers. I had mentioned that already on the show on Block Talk Radio. I never heard of these two guys before.
You didn't hear about them, and you don't care about them.
Don't care about them. Two obnoxious bastards and big egos. And Ron Howard, everybody said, oh, it's really emotional. You feel for these two guys. It just like, what's that other picture? Well, two other films that are most famous for The Grand Prix with James Gardner. Steve McQueen, the legendary actor, who was in The Great Escape and, of course, The Magnificent Seven. He was supposed to do that film Grand Prix. He got pissed off with the producers and decided to do his own film called Le Mans, which was horrible. Okay, Grand Prix starred the Shiro Mifune. It was back in 1965. It got a lot of comedy award nominations. It did win for editing and sound effects. But unfortunately, if you're not into race car driving, you're not going to get into these two guys whatsoever. Now, I got to admit, I don't know who the French guy is, but Chris Hemsworth, they said, okay, good-looking guy. He just threw a big deal. No, these two guys, I got to give the film credit. Ron Howard did some good directing work as far as photography goes. Kept the movie, moving along. It's not slow paced like you would think, and the actors were really good. Fortunately, if they portrayed two guys you couldn't give a shit about. I mean, I couldn't wait to get the hell out of the movie house. I said, who cares about these two jerks? It's like the Steve Jobs movie. No, you read the book, right?
Yes, I read the book. And if you see the book, Steve Jobs is a terrible person, according to this book. And it came right from Steve Jobs' mouth, right from the people who knew Steve Jobs. It basically paints him as a terrible person, that you really wouldn't care about him had he not got lucky enough to come up with a company called Apple. And it's sad that now it seems like a lot of people want to go into the old way of making films and making films about people in a higher class or a higher economic scale and make movies about people who are wealthy and driving despicably fast, who can be considered sociopaths, driving at that speed. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Steve Jobs is another sociopath. And this is the problem. They start making movies about people who, just because they're wealthy and successful, doesn't automatically make it for a good movie.
Right. Steve Jobs, it just, you spend 2 hours. Everybody got an Ashton Kutcher's case that he can't act or whatever. He's really funny on 2.5 Men. I give him that. He does belong on TV, but he does know how to carry himself as far as comedy and stuff like that. But I have to say one thing. He did pull off a real obnoxious bastard of a Steve Jobs. I thought his portrayal was pretty much on the money. Another one that came out, I forgot to mention on the last show. Let me squeeze it in now. Amanda Seyfried, if I'm saying her name right?
I hope you are.
Okay, Amanda Seyfried. She did Linda Lovelace, about the porn actress back in the 70s. And she was really, really good in the film, but the script failed her. You really don't sympathize that much like you should, and they can concentrate on the husband, what a creep he was. There should have been like another level for you to care about the person. And you look at it, you say, poor baby, and well, she did get into porn industry, and poor baby died. She listened to her husband when she should have divorced him. But there's a lot of more details that you read in the book that's not in the film to understand why she went through all this. Okay, the husband beat her into the situation. But there's a lot more psychological things that's in the book, and it's not in the movie. The Steve Jobs movie, actually, Cushing did as, the best that he could in the script, but it's kind of one-sided. There's a lot of things missing, and especially the book was like 500 pages.
Yes. Yeah, they're probably coming on second reprinting. I've seen that they have a second cover for the book. And it's great. It gives you a lot of. But just because something is an interesting and current event, that it doesn't necessarily mean it would translate good for a film.